This is the heartbreaking scene of a plane crash. The wreckage of the passenger aircraft floats on the sea surface. All survivors anxiously await rescue. Not long ago, the flight they were on was preparing to land. The flight attendant reminded passengers to fasten their seatbelts. But just then, disaster struck. The entire aircraft suddenly lost control.
Stay here one more time. Tell me what it's
With the control stick and hydraulic systems failing, the captain urgently contacted the control tower requesting an emergency landing. To avoid crashing into the city, the captain manually maneuvered the aircraft to climb, redirecting the flight toward nearby waters. When rescue teams arrived at the scene, the fuselage was already engulfed in flames. The wreckage was surrounded by the bodies of the victims, a heartbreaking sight. Meanwhile, the tide was rapidly rising. With the wreckage expected to endure only 4 more high tides, time was critically short for the rescue team. Passengers remained trapped inside the wreckage. Casey swiftly deployed the emergency slide, allowing survivors temporary respite while lifeboats were hastily mobilized. Inside the cabin, rescuers discovered a trapped survivor. The crash's impact had driven his seatbelt deep into his abdomen. To save time, they had to decisively cut the belt, otherwise the next tide would drown him. Rescuers Buck and John found a mother and son, but the mother's legs were trapped under a seat. They couldn't free her quickly, yet her child stayed by her side, refusing to leave. Anxious for her child's safety, the mother urgently told him only if he boarded the lifeboat first could the rescue team safely save her.
Have I ever lied to you? Then you have to believe me. I will be with you again so soon.
The boy was finally rescued from the wreckage. The mother watched her child board the lifeboat before turning away, her gaze free of regret. The second high tide had already begun. Buck ordered John to search the rear cabin. Here, a couple was trapped in the restroom. Heavy equipment had jammed the sliding door shut, making it impossible for Buck to move it. Then, the sound of an external engine sparked an idea. Buck had Casey secure one end of a rope to the equipment and tie the other to the lifeboat. Using the lifeboat's momentum, Buck successfully shifted the equipment. Moments later, the couple was finally rescued. As the third high tide arrived, the captain ordered the entire team to evacuate, yet chose to stay behind. He promised the mother she would see her child again. By then, the fourth high tide had begun. The sea completely submerged the wreckage of the two men's plane, gradually sinking it to the ocean floor. The captain continued his final efforts to rescue the mother. In the murky water, a hand seized the captain's shoulder and clung desperately to him. The rescue team arrived, successfully saving both the captain and the last survivor. Miracles of life always emerge from the depths of despair. Meanwhile, Taylor's Tavern held an annual competitive eating contest to attract more customers. The champion would win a year's worth of free steak and a spot on the tavern's wall of honor. Now, 2 contestants stood on stage: Robert, a beefy hulk, and Mary, petite and delicate. At the landlady's signal, the contest began. Mary grabbed her steak and began chomping, instantly pressuring Robert. He started devouring like a beast. Amidst the crowd's cheers, both ate faster and faster. But Mary doesn't chew at all. She chokes down the steak with gulps of water. Robert grows increasingly panicked, stunned by this petite fighter's tenacity. By the time Mary finishes half her portion, Robert is nearly at his limit. Yet Mary remains unfazed, even taunting Robert. The atmosphere grows electric. When the landlady returns to the stage, Robert finally breaks down, vomiting everything he just swallowed.
But you gotta eat every bite, sweetheart. Them's the rules.
He tried to force it back down, but couldn't swallow it. Reluctantly, he withdrew from the contest. Victory clearly belonged to Mary. As she swallowed the last bite of steak, the audience below cheered her enthusiastically. Suddenly, she collapsed. Robert broke out in a cold sweat upon seeing this. When the rescue team arrived, Michelle noticed Mary's swollen belly and initially thought she was pregnant. But Mary's blood pressure plummeted, and she cried out in pain. After initial checks, Michelle ruled out concussion but discovered Mary's abnormally swollen bladder. Colleagues suspected a perforated stomach. Yet when Michelle saw the empty water bottle, realizing Mary had drunk an entire bottle, she immediately diagnosed water intoxication. A catheter was urgently needed to drain her bladder before rupture. As the catheter was inserted, urine gushed out. The boss's wife was stunned as urine splattered all over the walls. Sometimes the price of victory far exceeds expectations. In another insane challenge, someone nearly paid with their life. Mark, seeking attention, had a car tow him across the snow. The live streams like skyrocketed. Seeing his impending fame, Mark grew even more reckless, bragging wildly to the camera. But the truck behind him wasn't having it. The driver honked frantically in protest, but Mark paid no attention. The truck forced a dangerous overtake. The jolt caused the ice slab on its roof to crack. As the truck accelerated, The entire block crashed down like a guillotine, slicing into Mark's neck. When the medical team arrived, they were stunned. Despite being pinned under such a massive block of ice, Mark was still conscious. He felt only a deep, creeping chill. Examination revealed his blood pressure had skyrocketed, demanding immediate surgery. But the ice was too heavy, any movement risked displacing his skull. Fortunately, the rescue team arrived in time. Amy immediately called for backup. Only by cutting through the ice could they save him. Firefighters wielded cutting torches, precisely slicing along the neck's edge to free him. They swiftly loaded Mark onto a stretcher. Yet during transport to the hospital, disaster struck. Mark's blood pressure plummeted, and his neck wounds suddenly gushed blood. The melting ice had lost its hemostatic effect.
So what do?
We have to make our own shield. Pull over!
What?
Captain Carla decisively ordered the ambulance to stop. Amy grabbed a vomit basin and dashed into the snow. They filled it with ice and snow, returned to the vehicle, and immediately applied the snow to Mark's wound. The ambulance then sped away with windows open, using the cold to preserve his life. Mark eventually regained consciousness. This rescue was absolutely incredible. The end of an adventure often brings unforeseen crises, like the next wedding, which should have been the start of happiness but became the beginning of disaster. Just as Nick and his bride Claire were receiving blessings, his best man William suddenly lost control, his voice choking with emotion. Mid-speech, William vomited all over the bride. The scene left every guest utterly devastated. Even more terrifying, William's reaction triggered a chain reaction. Guests began vomiting en masse, some fainting and crashing into pillars, causing the entire temporary banquet hall to collapse. When the rescue team arrived, the event organizer explained to the captain that only guests who had eaten fish showed symptoms of poisoning. Team medic Amy diagnosed it as classic mackerel poisoning. At that moment, William frantically rushed over, demanding the rescue team prioritize saving the groom. Nick, meanwhile, the collapsed scaffolding had pinned Nick's thigh. Judd tried to lift it, but the 900-pound lighting fixture on the frame was impossible for him to move. The captain sent Taylor to fetch a saw and gas masks. After emergency cutting, the team finally freed Nick, but then the bride began vomiting too. The team suspected food poisoning again, but Nick insisted Claire was a vegetarian.
Yeah, were you hit on the head?
No.
But you're feeling nauseated.
She's been sick all week.
Maybe she's pregnant.
Joe's words suddenly made Claire's face turn pale. Nick denied his suspicion, explaining they hadn't consummated their marriage yet. Claire finally broke down, tearfully apologizing to Nick. She confessed she didn't want their wedding ruined by pregnancy. But William suddenly erupted, demanding why he'd been kept in the dark.
Because it's not your business.
How is it not my business? How is it your business?
The captain, sensing the awkwardness, quickly ordered his team to wheel the groom away. The wedding ended in chaos and secrets. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, husband Leonard, suspecting Megan of infidelity, stood on the balcony railing, threatening suicide. Megan desperately insisted it was untrue, but Leonard refused to listen. The rescue team arrived. Seeing the scene, Buck quipped, "Pointing a gun at your head would be more direct." Before gearing up for the rescue, Captain Bobby stepped forward to calm Leonard, while Megan tearfully confided in Bobby that no matter how she explained, her husband wouldn't believe her. Bobby assessed that Leonard just needed a gesture of acknowledgement. He instructed Megan to apologize first, and Leonard would come down.
Sorry, okay? I don't know what I was thinking. I love you and only you.
It tears me.
You lie.
Oh, fine!
When you turn
I mean, that was
me
pathetic.
down.
Come on, I tried my best.
As Leonard continued to inch toward the edge, Bobby suddenly switched to emotional mode, sharing his own experience of being cheated on at the Eiffel Tower. While Leonard listened intently, Bobby gave Buck a signal. Buck then descended from the air, completing the rescue. Yet Megan, unconcerned with Leonard, pressed Bobby, "What happened to you afterward?" Emotional entanglements often defy expectations. In the next rescue mission, the weight of paternal love transcended legal boundaries. A prison riot had erupted, leaving multiple casualties. The emergency center immediately dispatched a rescue team, but the prison guard transporting the injured hijacked the ambulance after leaving the facility. Prisoners Jack and Mike escaped amidst the chaos. Surprisingly, instead of fleeing, they drove the ambulance to the hospital, demanding Buck transport the injured. Though puzzled, Buck complied, but the moment Jack led Buck inside the hospital, police stormed out and subdued both men. Outside, the ambulance was quickly surrounded. Mike panicked inside, baffled by the police's swift discovery of their location. Eddie urged Mike to surrender, but Mike insisted on entering the hospital. It turned out this riot had been premeditated. His son, Nolan, suffered from congenital heart disease and had waited a year at this hospital without a donor. With life slipping away, Mike repeatedly applied for the death penalty to donate his heart to his son, but the law prohibited death row inmates from donating, leaving him no choice but to take desperate measures. Officer Asina retrieved records and contacted Mike's ex-wife, learning the truth that confirmed Mike's purpose. As a father himself, Eddie understood Mike's actions, but defying the law wouldn't fulfill his wish. Eddie urged Mike to turn himself in, promising to do everything possible to help Nolan.
Like what? Buck, the other guy. His girlfriend's a reporter. We have her do a story on your son, get the public behind Nolan, pressure the governor into letting you donate.
I don't want that for him. People knowing I'm his father. Me dying and him living maybe makes the world a better place.
Mike finally agreed to surrender. After getting out of the car, he demanded Eddie make another promise.
When he asks about the donor, I can never know it was me.
Sudden gunfire made Buck think Eddie was in trouble. He rushed out frantically, only to see Eddie performing CPR on Mike.
But his heart isn't, and I needed to stay that way. Go! Okay, row.
Meanwhile, the police faced a dilemma. Though the sheriff sympathized with Mike's situation, the law prohibited organ donations from death row inmates. Then, Ashina had a sudden insight. The law only forbids donations from death row inmates. What if he were no longer on death row? After urgent communication with the governor, the sheriff secured a commutation for Mike. Mike's heart was successfully transplanted into his son Nolan. Soon, that heart began beating anew. The continuation of life sometimes stems from the deepest sacrifice. Yet on another highway, a father's promise became eternal. Charlie had just bought the motorcycle his son had always dreamed of. Filled with joy, he sped home, imagining his son's delighted reaction upon seeing it. A woman beside him waved hello, and Charlie politely waved back. But the next second, a catastrophic crash occurred.
911, what's your emergency?
You gotta send someone. There was a crash. It's really bad. A motorcycle was hit. Oh my god.
Emergency crews arrived swiftly at the blood-soaked scene. The force of the impact had torn Charlie's body in two. Fortunately, his helmet had shielded his circulatory system during the collision. Charlie's heart still beat, but the violent impact caused severe internal bleeding. Suddenly, a phone rang. The captain quickly retrieved a call from his son. With his last ounce of strength, Charlie told his son, "I bought the motorcycle we talked about."
26 twin cam engine, yeah. 1560 cc's, cherry red. Oh, it's bad. Hey, and don't tell Mom. This thing's a chick magnet. yeah. I love you, son.
This was undoubtedly a terrifying, devilish revenge plot. All because cousin Jack had swapped Tom's shampoo for hair removal cream, leaving Tom bald at a young age. Tom decided to use devil's chili as filling, determined to make Jack taste the burning fury of his wrath. Tom meticulously prepared the spicy pie and brought it to the table. Just as everyone was about to dig in, Jack successfully diverted Tom's attention. The moment Tom turned away, Jack cleverly swapped their plates. Unaware of the switch, Tom thought Jack was flirting with the girl next to him. He chuckled and reminded Jack, "She's married. You're not her type at all." Jack covered his embarrassment with laughter before taking a bite of the pie. Seeing Jack eat, Tom followed suit with a huge bite, smugly asking Jack how it tasted.
A little bland, to be honest. Real question is, how's yours?
The next second, Tom felt his throat ignite with pain, frantically downing an entire bottle of water. Tom never imagined he'd be the one left looking like a fool. Even downing 2 bottles of water proved futile as his throat emitted heavy, labored gasps. Only then did Jack realize something was terribly wrong. He immediately attempted the Heimlich maneuver, but it had no effect whatsoever. By the time the rescue team arrived, Tom had already lost consciousness. Michelle's examination revealed severe spasms in Tom's esophagus. The extreme heat over 2 million Scoville units had caused a traumatic esophageal rupture. Fluid from the rupture had flooded his lungs. Immediate on-site emergency treatment was essential. Otherwise, Tom would never make it to the hospital. The situation was critical. The rescue team followed Michelle's advice and agreed to perform surgery on the spot. Under the tense gaze of everyone present, Michelle carefully made an incision in Tom's ribcage and successfully inserted a suction tube. As the fluid was slowly drawn out, Tom finally regained consciousness. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the miracle of life's beginning. Jimmy was driving his wife Sarah to the hospital as she went into labor. Sarah's painful moans made Jimmy even more anxious than she was, fearing the baby might arrive unexpectedly. But Sarah calmly explained these were just contractions. Still, Jimmy remained on edge and urged Sarah to call an ambulance. Just as the call connected, A bolt of lightning struck the car roof. The airbags deployed instantly. The vehicle slammed into roadside barriers, rolling twice before coming to rest on its side. Rescue crews arrived and immediately extinguished flames beneath the car. As Captain Bobby assessed the situation, Jimmy, clinging to consciousness, cried out, "Save my wife." Before slipping into unconsciousness, Bobby discovered Sarah unconscious in the back seat, while Jimmy suffered a flail chest from the impact requiring urgent treatment. The severely mangled vehicle demanded cutting tools, but chainsaws risked igniting leaking gasoline. The team resorted to manually prying open the doors. Suddenly, Bobby halted the rescue upon spotting the exposed umbilical cord.
Could the baby have been ejected?
Yeah, she was dilated enough.
All right, guys, let's get her out, gently. Let's open that door.
Jimmy accelerated the extrication. Yet when Sarah was freed, Bobby saw the umbilical cord had detached. Team medic Henny instructed Bobby to immediately hold the cord to maintain blood flow, though this could only sustain life for 3 minutes. Suddenly, all 3 victims required simultaneous care. Fortunately, the experienced rescue team swiftly divided tasks, each swiftly assuming their assigned position. Jimmy remained unconscious throughout. Henny performed a thoracentesis alone, quickly restoring his breathing. Bobby then discovered the infant trapped beneath the seat. With teammate Buck's assistance, they successfully extracted the baby. The next second, Sarah finally relaxed as the infant's loud cry filled the air. Though this accident nearly claimed the family's lives, Sarah held her baby with a strong heartbeat and felt it was all worth it. The arrival of life always brings hope and resilience. That day, a 911 operator received a muffled distress call.
I can barely hear you, sir. Can you tell me precisely where on the trail?
The signal was intermittent, with only fragments like trail and cliff audible. When the fire department arrived, they found only the caller's selfie stick at the cliff's edge. Roping down to the valley floor, they discovered only ancient skeletal remains in a crevice. Then,
"Oh, hiker. Don't think it's the one we came looking for. It's human remains, Cap. Skeletal remains."
Unless.
What, do you think a ghost called 911?
I'm just saying.
fresh cries for help echoed nearby. They discovered a man covered in blood, lying on the rocks.
It wasn't easy. You weren't on long enough for them to ping your phone.
On with who?
With 911.
I dropped my phone when I went over. I didn't call 911.
The next day, a female officer found a phone beside the bones with call records from 6 years prior. The recording revealed a similarly faint distress signal, eerily similar to the call received the previous day.
Can you hear me? You're breaking up. What's your location?
No, that's not right. That sounds like my call from yesterday. Pull it up.
The operator was baffled. Could this call have come from the corpse? Then they discovered a wedding ring engraved with a name on the deceased's finger. The operator became convinced someone was still waiting for the skeleton to return. Days later, when the female officer found the deceased's wife to return the ring, the wife remained silent for a long time. 7 years of waiting finally came to an end. Holding her child's hand, she softly said, "Let's go home."
Mommy, can we go now?
Yes, baby, of course. Just a minute.